Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
So today, this is the third class. So in the first class, we discussed about general medicinal systems and their principle. We also saw some limitations of all the medicinal system. So the key takeaway from there is that no one medicinal system is suited for one particular disease, right? So we have to look for maybe one or two medicinal system. That is the whole conclusion from that. And in the recorded session, basically, sorry, that was not a recorded session. I gave an offline document. So there we understood about what is chronic disease, what is uh, acute diseases, and the most important point that we understand from there was that for every disease, how does the medicine system treats, what treatment does it provide, right? That is the most important thing. So based on that only, your probability of cure as well as whether the probability of whether the disease will reoccur is decided. So the most important aspect is that the medicinal system should have a philosophy of how the diseases are occurring, and that should cover not only the physiological diseases but also the psychological issues. So with that, I think we'll start today's session. So today we will understand more about acupressure, and today we will also discuss the tools that you can start using for acupressure. Okay, so let's give me 1 minute. Yeah, so if you have any questions, maybe we'll take it up at the last, especially about the document that I published or any other thing. And one more thing is for tomorrow, the plan is that for the first two classes, class 1 and 2, I will give some small quiz. Maybe I'll keep it open, maybe in the evening, till night, so you can take it up. Or maybe I'll keep it open from evening till tomorrow end of day, day after end of day. So till Monday end of day, you can attempt it. So that will give you some idea about whether you have understood the topics. Okay, so today let's understand more about acupressure. So the fundamental principle behind how acupressure healing, especially like Reiki, pranic healing, and then acupuncture, even to a large extent homeopathy, we discussed, they are all working at an energy level, correct? So what do you mean by energy level? Like, there are no medicines in these things. Homeopathy is kind of a difference where they provide medicine, but that works only at an energy level. So it doesn't have any huge chemical. So, so basically, the idea here is that all these medicinal systems, since they work at energy level, they act very slow, but they provide a permanent solution. Whereas compared to allopathy, which works only at a what do you call at a chemical level, they bypass the body mechanisms and they provide a faster relief. And we also saw the history of how the allopathy came into picture. And the most important difference I want to reiterate here is that allopathy cannot treat any gland related issues like endocrine glands or any other gland related problems, because these many of these glands are ductless glands. So what does ductless gland mean? That they don't have a blood vessel connected to that. So the medicines can't reach there. So for such problems, the only difference is, sorry, the only resolution we have is we have to go for an energy level treatment, which are basically like pranic healing or Reiki or acupressure or acupuncture. So these kind of things. So so with that, we'll start today's class. So let's understand what is acupressure. So acupressure is one of the so basically, see, in India we have various what do you call medicinal systems. So we have Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, those kind of thing. But originally, if you see, Ayurveda and Siddha alone originated in India. So Unani came from Arab countries, and homeopathy came from Europe, especially Germany. So, so basically, so Samuel Hahnemann, he's the founder of homeopathy. So he invented homeopathy. So let's not too much worry about homeopathy. So basically, these are all the different medicinal systems. But originally, if you see, the medicinal systems are Ayurveda and Siddha. Now, these medicinal systems also have various other, what do you call, various other ancillary techniques. So, for example, you have yoga, Also, you have Marma in Ayurveda, and in this called Varma in acupuncture. Sorry, in Siddha. So the Siddha, Varma, and Ayurveda, Marma. I don't know whether they are exactly same, but what I know is that in Siddha, Varma is not just related to the Marma practiced in Ayurveda, but it is more vast than that. So there are different types of Varma are there, and they are used even for martial arts. So similar to that, in Chinese medicine, so we will be using this term called TCM. TCM stands for Traditional Chinese Medicine. So we will discuss what is traditional. That also we will discuss. So basically, you have something called a traditional Chinese medicine. So this traditional Chinese medicine consists of several medicinal techniques or several techniques in which the foremost technique is acupuncture. So which means like even today, unlike India, where unfortunately, Ayurveda or Siddha doesn't have that much of adoption, not only by the public, also by the government. But on the contrary, Chinese medicine is very much famous in China. So we don't want to go into that history and all, but it is very famous. And not only that, we discussed that who has recognized acupuncture, whereas who has not given any such this thing for Ayurveda or Siddha. So who has done a lot of work on this? So they have standardized many of the things. For example, there is something called scalp acupuncture, so where they have taken the basic acupuncture practiced by Chinese and they have standardized it in international standard. Not only that, there are many other countries. For example, in France, they use ear acupuncture. So it is called auriculotherapy. So many people have started doing a lot of experiments on acupuncture, and they have done a lot of research, and they have published a lot of papers. And now in Western countries, acupuncture is also used along with the tradition, the allopathy in many hospitals. Even in India, also I know that certain big hospitals like Apollo and all, they are using acupuncture in parallel to these things, the regular allopathy. So acupuncture is the first and foremost medicinal system, very effective at this thing. Now, what is the difference between acupuncture and acupressure? There are not too much difference. So if you know acupressure, then you know acupuncture. Only thing is that the difference is here we use only fingers in acupressure, whereas in acupuncture we are using needles. Otherwise, both are same. But since we are using needles, acupuncture comes with certain problems, like you have to study the points, where to insert the needle, where not to insert, how to insert the needle. So there are different techniques out there. And similarly, you cannot use acupressure in ears, or you cannot use acupressure in your head and all, like scalp acupuncture. I don't know whether it will be effective, so people don't use it normally. So that's the difference. But otherwise, acupressure and acupuncture are same. Now, other than this, they also have herbal therapy. They have massage therapy. They have different medicinal systems. Now, if you see acupressure and acupuncture, both are same, exactly same. They are using the same points, everything. Only difference is that they don't really use. In acupressure, we don't use needle, whereas in acupuncture, we use needle. That's the only difference. Now, so in this class, we will learn about acupressure. Apart from that, I will also be telling you certain other techniques that you can use for as a additional thing. For example, there is a technique called moxibustion. So moxibustion is a technique where you use mocha sticks to treat certain diseases. So this also you can practice at home. So in the earlier class that we took, I couldn't take much time to explain about this thing, but in this class I will spend specifically, I block some time for discussing about this moxibustion. For example, if you have any stomach-related problems, you can use moxibustion at home, and you can treat by yourself. It is very safe. So wherever acupressure is not really working very well, you can use alternative therapies. So you can use cupping. There are many techniques out there. So we'll be discussing only 3 or 4 things in this class. One is acupressure. Another is we'll discuss about moxibustion, or we call mocha sticks treatment. So that we'll discuss, and then we will also talk about certain other tools that are available for you, which you can buy from market, and you can use it as a treatment similar to acupuncture. Okay. One warning for you, that please don't try needling any of the points that we discuss here, because in acupressure we will not talk about which point to puncture, which point not to puncture, because here there is no puncturing at all, right? So, for example, if I tell you there is a point here, Li4, so you don't try to do any needling or anything there. Okay, it will become very hazardous for you. Okay, so please don't do this. Learn this thing and use only acupressure, not any other technique. Okay, and my suggestion: don't join any class in acupuncture without confirming that they are really master in it. Okay, because many people are practicing acupuncture, but they have learned from different people, and I don't know how safe it is to practice, because there is no legal this framework, right? I talked about this last class. So there is no legal framework. There is no legal framework on who can practice, who cannot practice, and then tomorrow when there is a problem, it will be an issue. So please don't use acupuncture for any of these points. Okay, so now let's recap one important point. How does acupressure or acupuncture works? So this we discussed, right? It is based on the meridians. So there are many meridians in our body. There are hundreds of meridians are there. Now these meridians are connected to so many this thing, and then many chakras are there on those meridians. So these what do these meridians do? These meridians are like they make the energy flow through the whole body. Now, some of you who attended the meditation classes, you know that there are three shariras in our in our Hinduism. So the three shariras are: one is called Sthula Sharira, which is basically our physical body, and the second one is called Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma means you cannot see, so which is the energy body, and then there is a Karna Sharira, which is the only body that is getting carried forward from one birth to another birth, as per the Hindu philosophy. So whereas the Karna Sharira, the Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira get destroyed after the death of the person. So we also discussed about 10 voices. Anyway, we'll not go into that. So now, so just like how the blood is very much required for our body, right? Physical body. When I say body, I'm talking about physical body. Similarly, for our the energy body or the Sukshma Sharira, what is more important is the vital energy. Now, what is this vital energy? This is called Prana, Chi, Ki, we discussed, right, in the first class, I believe. So these energy are there, the cosmic energy, and then they flow into our body. So they come through many channels. Many entries. So chakras are the biggest entry, and there are many acupuncture points. They flow into that. So what do? They basically, what do? Is they flow into that energy. They flow into those nadis or the meridians or channels. Okay, so nadi is a more of a Indian term, whereas in acupuncture we call it as a meridians or channels. So these channels and meridians are not physical channels. For example, if you cut the body, you cannot see those meridians. But somebody has done some experiment, and they have shown that it is possible to identify those meridians. So these are all kind of a virtual. You can call it as a virtual or something that you cannot see that, but the energy flow happens through those meridians. So what happens is energy flow goes through the meridian, and then it reaches different organs. Okay. So we'll not be spending too much time on energy in this class because it's very advanced. But we will just understand the basic concepts today. So the energy will flow into the meridians or nadis, and they will reach various organs. They will be absorbed by different cells. The whole entire body needs this energy. So let's take an example of heart. Right now, heart needs blood. Right. So heart pumps blood. Maybe let's take some other example. Let's take eye or ear or something like that, or any organ like gallbladder. So these organs, would need the blood. The moment blood is not there, the organs will start failing. Correct? This all of us know. So blood is very much important. Similarly, energy is also very important for all the organs. So the moment energy goes down, then the disease start happening. Because what is the point? Why does it happen? The reason is because this energy is used for self-healing property of the body, right? So to keep the cells active and the organs to keep functioning, they need energy. Now, where does this energy come from? This energy come from various sources. So I think this we discussed several times in meditation classes. So the energy comes from several sources, like they come from food, water, they come from different places, and more importantly, they come from land, they come from air, all these things. And divine energy comes from various sources we discussed. So these energy come into our body and they make sure that our organs are working fine. Now, whenever these energy are not in control, like if there's a too much of energy or very less energy, then what happens? You get a problem. Now, how can these energies go lesser? They can change. How can the imbalance happen? The energy imbalance can happen because of many reasons. For example, it can happen because of psychological factors. For example, your emotions. So if you have a very bad emotion, or a very good emotion, then also it will impact your this thing. So how are these emotions are impacting? Maybe yeah, allopathy doctor cannot explain, but Chinese medicine clearly says that that these energy levels change the respective organs, and they make your different hormones to secrete. So so basically, these energies, if they are more in this thing, they create a problem. They less also they create a problem. So they can change based on emotional factors. They can change based on some habits that we have. They can change based on some external factors or based on some medicine. So there are many reasons why it can happen. So basically, the Chinese theory or even the Indian theory also, what they say is that these energy levels are very much responsible for our healthy well-being. And how is our healthiness measured? It is by the length of our aura, the thickness of our aura. So if our aura is good, then we are healthy. If our aura is not good, then we are not healthy. Okay, so no, that's how the diseases develop. So there could be two things. One is that you already have a disease because of which your energy levels can change, or because of some energy level problem, you can get a new disease. So both are possible. Now, so when you generally study any medicinal systems, especially we'll talk about allopathy. So they have several subjects to study, like they have anatomy, they have physiology, they have many things. The reason is because they go very deep into each and everything. So similarly in TCM, we have to study about anatomy. Now the anatomy of Chinese medicine is not exactly same as allopathy. That's a very important aspect. So today we'll talk about that. Then physiology. Physiology means like how certain things are interacting. This also there are some theories in TCM, but they are not same as the English medicine. For example, if you take any one organ, how that organ works, the Chinese theory and English theory or the allopathy theory may or may not match. So you'll find some differences. And Chinese medicine talks a lot about yin yang theory. So what is yin yang theory? Yin yang theory is like Shakti and Shiva in our culture. So basically everything in this universe has a plus and minus. So if you take a battery, it has a plus and minus, right? Now can you tell me whether the plus side is good or minus side is good? It is not so, right? Because plus has some characteristics, minus has some characteristics. So you should not take a literal meaning saying that plus means this thing, minus means this thing. Basically in the world everything has two poles, so plus and minus. So these plus and minus balance the entire world. Whenever this balance goes for a toss, right, nature tries to balance it. For example, in a village, if there are all good people, then there will be some problems that may happen, which will be very surprising for you. Just like if a village has too many bad people, you compare a village with a city, right? Generally, it is general assumption also true to the fact that village people are very good, whereas in city, people are more not very having human values like this, right? So similarly, nothing, everything has to be balanced. So plus and minus is nothing but yin and yang. So you should not confuse that with some negative or positive thoughts, right? Basically, what it means is like there are two balancing acts. So these two balancing acts make sure that we are not only we, everything is in balance. So in our culture also it is called Shakti and Shiva. So unfortunately, the Shakti Shiva concept got evolved into a different direction. So we have lost all those medicinal theories behind Shakti and Shiva. So Shakti Shiva in our Hinduism is like you can think about like this. So Shiva is something potential energy, whereas your Shakti is your kinetic energy. Something that we can let's not go too deep into that. So similarly in Chinese also there is a yin yang theory. So yin stands for a negative or a female. Okay, again I'm telling you, don't think like negative means bad. it is some characteristics. So what are those characteristics? For example, yin characteristics. You would have seen, no, generally, why did they give a name of male and female? Because these characteristics are very much matching with the respective gender. That's why they give that property. So, for example, yin property is very cold. Yin property, is very something like that, right? So, similarly, yang property is very hot, and is very active. So basically, what happens, we have both this yin and yang forces. So, for example, when you sleep in the night, your body is under the influence of yin. When you get up in the morning, your body transitions from yin to yang. And similarly, the body also changes. So, for example, I have discussed this in the meditation session that your breathing doesn't happen through one nostril or two nostrils. It happens through alternative nostrils. Right? Similarly, in our body also, yin and yang changes. So this is one theory. So we will discuss this more in detail. Now, there are other thing called 5-element theory. So this is called Panchabhuta in our language. Sorry, in our Indian tradition, right? Hindu tradition. So Panchabhuta, what is Panchabhuta? These are all 5 elements. So you take anything in our body, it is made of those 5 elements. So if there is an imbalance in any of these elements, then it creates a problem. For example, water is an element. Now let's say in some organ, the water element becomes more, especially lung. Then what happens? You get cold and many other problems. So there is a imbalance in the 5 elements. So this is called Panchabhuta in our language. Sorry, in our this thing. So the Panchabhuta of our Hindu tradition exactly maps into this thing. But our medicinal systems like Siddha and Ayurveda doesn't work at a Panchabhuta level. It works only at a 3 dosha levels. Okay, whereas acupuncture works at a Panchabhuta level or 5-element level. Okay, we'll be using only Chinese this thing because it's easy for you to read some. So we'll not use Indian terminology. We'll use only Chinese terminology, which is called 5 elements theory. So these are the 5 elements are there. So there are 2 theories we discussed. One is Yin Yang theory. Another is called 5 elements theory. Okay. So these are all the 2 things. Now let's also understand about what are the different organs. So there are different organs in our body, and these organs are not exactly same in allopathy or acupuncture or in the traditional Chinese medicine. So you have certain organs are common. For example, you have lung, large intestine, small intestine. You have different organs are there. Now these organs are also there in the English anatomy or this thing, and these are there in the this is also there in the Chinese medicine. But not all the organs are there in anatomy. So there are 2 organs which we'll discuss. So the first organ is called pericardium. The second organ is called Sanjio. So Sa means in Chinese and Japanese it means 3. So Jia means so I don't know Chinese. I don't know how to pronounce it because Chinese has 5 syllable. Five different types of sounds. So, for example, in our language, in all our Indian language, you have only 2 sounds. So, one is like a short and a long sound, right? For example, I can say bat or pot, something like that, right? So, there are only 2 sounds, but Chinese has 5 sounds. So, I don't know how to pronounce. I think it is called San Jiao. So, Sa means 3, Jia means junction. So, there are 3. Our body has been segregated into 3 parts by Chinese, saying that first is the upper part, and then the middle part and the lower part. So what all these parts are? These are group of organs. They keep the body heat. So that is what we call Pitta in our Siddha Ayurveda, right? So they keep our body heat. So just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So just give me 1 minute. Yeah, sorry. So basically, there are 3 parts in our body: the upper part and middle part and the lower part. So basically, if you see, there is a lot of common sense. If you apply, you will learn a lot of some of these things. So, for example, we have our stomach at the end, okay, and our lungs and heart on the top, right? So stomach is at the bottom, whereas lungs and heart at the top. So I don't know anybody thought about why it has to be like that. The reason is because our heart and our lungs need to be kept very hot, very warm. So you know this, right? In the night when you sleep, if the temperature drops down, next day morning when you get very serious problems, right? So the reason is because the temperature of this heart and these things need to be maintained properly. Now, so for example, let's say you have a stove at home, you burn you used to burn the stove, you lit the stove, and then you keep a vessel at the top. Then the heat naturally flows up, and then so similarly, what happens in our stomach also, there is something burning, right, and that is called digestion, right. So glucose is converted, and it is converted into energy, right. So, so there is a natural heat that is produced, and that heat keeps the entire thing warm. So similarly, there are many heat mechanisms are there in our body. They try to maintain our body heat. So maintaining body heat is very very important. This is not not known to anybody. If you maintain your body heat properly, then you will never get any diseases. At least you can minimize the probability of getting a disease. So there are many ways you can spoil your body heat. So the first one is you sleep on the right side in the night. When you sleep on the right side in the night, your body heat will go down. You have to sleep on the sleep on the left, your body heat will go down. So you always need to sleep on the right side. So I'll just give some of these things later. Okay. So maintaining body heat. So now, why we are talking about this pericardium and the Sangio, which is not there in the English medicine, is because English medicine doesn't give a lot of weightage to these kind of factors, whereas the traditional medicines, like all our medicine systems, are giving a lot of weightage. So they have identified these two as a separate organ. One is called pericardium. Pericardium is nothing but a muscle which is wrapping your heart. It is actually covering your heart. Okay, so it is making sure that your heart is working properly. It gives enough heat to that. So it is called pericardium. So it is just a muscle in the English medicine, whereas in Chinese it is called an organ. And the another one is like Sangio, right, which is not one organ; it is a group of organs. So these are all the two organs which are basically not there in the anatomy of allopathy, but these are there in the Chinese medicine. So this is the only difference. Otherwise, all the all the organs in the body, they are very much recognized in this thing. Now, you may have a question. So these organs are like lung, large intestine, stomach, spleen. There are 12 organs are there. Now, these organs are not exactly what do you call it? Okay, these are not the entire list of organs that we study in anatomy. So in anatomy, what I mean by anatomy is like allopathy anatomy. We study about different organs, but here they are restricted to 12 organs. The reason is because when you take care of these 12 organs, your entire body health is maintained properly. So, for example, like many other things. For example, you have ear, right? Ear is a very important organ. Now, ear organ is connected to kidney. So, which means like if your kidney is not working properly, then you have a problem with your ear. So similarly, your hair is connected to kidney. So there are different organs which are connected to this thing. So for example, in allopathy we call it as sensory organs. So sensory organs are basically organs which are connected to these organs. So these 12 organs are pretty much connected to everything. For example, you have diabetes, which is because of pancreas. No, so there is no organ called diabetes. Sorry, there is no organ called pancreas in Chinese medicine. It is only called spleen. So spleen is connected to pancreas. So there are only 12 organs are there. For example, there is no organ called brain in this thing. That is because brain is actually connected to many of these organs. So there are 12 organs. Now, why are we connect? Why are we talking about 12 organs? Now these 12 organs are the most important organs in a Chinese theory and Chinese medicine, and these 12 organs have two channels. Okay, one on the left side, one on the right side. So these are all the two channels. So these two channels, what do? They just flow from one extreme to another, which we'll discuss about all these things in the subsequent classes. They flow from one extreme to another, and then they carry the energy, and then they reach to the respective organs. And on the way, they say, for example, like you can take this example like you travel to Delhi from Mumbai. Now you may board a train. So what the train does, it stops in different stations, right? It doesn't just directly go to Delhi. So similarly, when the organ enters your body, It goes through several this thing points, and then they do a lot of interaction, and then they finally reach the organ. When they reach the organ, that organ gets the energy. Now, how do you get a disease? Let us take an example, right? Now there is an organ called lung, right? Now this lung organ, when the energy flow doesn't happen properly, right, then that organ becomes weak. Okay, so this energy flow can happen because of multiple reasons, but let's say some reason had happened, your organ has become weak, then what happens? Your lung cannot function properly, right? So you get diseases. Let us take another example, which allopathy cannot explain, saying that how can stress cause heart attack, right? So for a long time, doctors were saying like cholesterol is the only reason for heart attack, but now recent studies are saying that heart attack is not just because of cholesterol. Now they are saying cholesterol is not the reason; it is because of stress. Now, this cannot be explained in English medicine, but it can be very easily explained using energy medicine. So, for example, there is something called solar plexus chakra, which is connected to your important organs like heart and all. So when lungs and heart they are all connected to different organs. So each chakra is connected to one gland. Okay. So for example, there is a throat chakra. So this is called Vishuddhi chakra. So this is connected to your throat. So there are different chakras out there. So these chakras connect to one gland. So similarly, these chakras are connected to organs. And actually, what is chakra? Chakra is nothing but one acupuncture point. Okay. So there are so many acupuncture points, but in that there is one important point which is a chakra. And chakra and is not same as all other acupuncture point, because all other acupuncture points are very small. They are very small. Okay. Now they are very small, and these acupuncture points, you can just needle with a small needle to stimulate that. It's so small. So, but whereas the chakra is little bigger, it is bigger in size. Why is it called chakra? Chakra is actually a Tamil word. The reason why we call it chakra is those days they used to grind sugar using these wheels. So wheel is called chakram in Tamil. So because they used to grind like that, it is called chakra. So it has become chakra. So now this chakra is basically nothing but the energy in which it's a place where the energy enters into our body at a very high this thing volume or concentration, you can think about like that. So it comes and it actually like a funnel. It rotates and then it comes inside. So for example, you might have seen in river, sometimes there is a swirl or something like that, right? Something similar to that. So the energy comes inside. Now, why does heart attack happen? When that energy flow increases in your chakra, right? The chakra becomes bigger and it carries huge energy. Now, these chakras are like transformers. So they carry energy, and they distribute their energy to different parts. So for example, there is a transformer in front of your apartment. Okay, if the transformer is working fine, there is no problem. But when the transformer is lacking power, then you have a low voltage in your apartment. When the transformer gets huge power, then you have some blast in your home. So similarly, what happens when the chakra becomes very weak, the organs become very weak. But when the chakra gets huge energy, for example, stress is the most important reason why your solar plexus chakra becomes bigger. So if you have stress, or if you have certain negative thoughts, these thoughts will increase your energy of your chakra, which is basically solar plexus. Okay, so that solar plexus chakra, when it becomes bigger, they carry huge energy, and then they go and blast all the organs. So they go and blast your heart and other things. So because of which you get heart attack. So these are all some reasons. So the most important reason that we need to understand here is in acupressure that we need to know the different organs. Now, why should we know these organs? That is more important, right? So the reason why we should know these organs are just 1 minute. So the reason we need to know these organs are because the diseases are related to those organs. Okay, so you can get some diseases, and you need to know which organ is responsible for this disease. For example, if I tell you that somebody has asthma, then you know that that particular person may have a problem related to lung, right? That's why he is getting this issue. So the reason why I have to study about these organs are we need to know what disease is related to which organ. Now, we also need to know the location of organs. Okay, so because it's a very basic thing. If you don't know, if you say that you are a healer or you are acupressure, if you don't know the location of chakras, if you don't know the location of organ, then it is like you don't know anything. Right? That's the perception. So you need to know where is the location of these chakras, and you need to know the location of the each and every individual points. So this is the biggest problem in learning this thing. For example, if you want to study law, the law students has the biggest problem that they have to learn about each and every act. There are several sections. It's very difficult. So similarly, in acupressure, the biggest problem we have is that we have to remember all the points. So there are 365 plus points, I think. I don't know the exact count. Maybe 360 plus points are there. It is impossible for everybody to learn all these points unless you start practicing. Okay. So, for example, I may know maybe 20, 25 points, not more than that, because I have not practiced, let's say. But if somebody is practicing on a daily basis, then he will know maybe 100 plus 150 points. So, each and every point we need to know. Now, so this is the biggest problem. So in this class, how are you going to solve this problem is I'm going to give an app. I think I already given 2 apps to you. So in that there is one app called Acupressure app. So what you can do, you can install that app, and in that app, there will be 12 organs will be there. So totally there will be 14 channels will be there. Okay, so why 14 channels? We'll discuss that later. So 12 channels are corresponding to 12 organs. Okay, so just remember this: there are 12 organs, and 12 channels are corresponded to these 12 organs, and each organ has 2 channels, and these 2 channels are exactly identical. That is one on the left and one on the right. Okay, so they are exactly identical. For example, let us take one example. So there is a channel called lung channel, right? You know where is lung? Lung is here, right? So there is a point here where the lung channel starts, okay, and then it goes like this. Okay, so what it means that that there is energy flow that happens in this direction. So the lung channel is like this. Okay, now what happens? This energy flow happens through this particular this thing. Now, sorry. So there are so many points are there, right? So we cannot remember each and every point. So what we can do, we can just go to the tab and find out. So you just need to know which point to use for what problem. That also I'll give you some tables or something so that you can use. So once you have that knowledge, right? So we are going to use 2 different techniques to find out the points. Don't worry if it's too much confusing, because I'm just giving some introduction here, but in subsequent classes we are going to see more in detail. So what we are going to do for every problem, if you have the knowledge of which organ to find out which organ is related to that, I will be giving you the points. Okay, so you can use those points, which is called clinical acupuncture. In clinical acupuncture, what people have done is they have done a lot of experiments. If you have some particular problem, they have done some experiment and they have decided, okay, these are all the points that are very useful. So they have done a clinical exercise by treating some thousands of patients, and they have taken some scientific studies and they have decided those are all the points. So that is a very simple way we are going to follow. Okay, so I'll give you some points. You can use those points and you can actually treat it. Now there is another method which is called classical method. So what is classical method? So for example, you go to a Siddha doctor or Ayurveda doctor. What the doctor generally he does, he will just check your nadi and other thing, right? So he may prescribe you some medicines based on your three dosha, but at the same time, he may also give you some medicines based on the problem that you tell him. Like for example, you take a X-ray or something, so you take something and then you give it to him. Okay, he says, okay, there is a problem. I'll give you some medicines. You have some problem with it. So the method of checking your pulses and treating is called classical method, because that is a conventional method followed by the medicinal system. So, so in this conventional method, what we can do is we can find out what problem it is, why it has caused, and you can also find out the respective points for that, and you can do it. Now, it is very difficult to practice classical acupuncture because it needs more knowledge, but still we will try to do some attempt to find out certain points. So that we'll discuss in the subsequent class. So these are all the things that we are going to do in the classes, right? So there are 12 organs we are going to study, and I will give you some materials, by tomorrow or something. So you can go through all these 12 organs, and these 12 organs, we need to know where they are located, and because you need to know that so that you can understand the meridians. So each of the organ has 2 channels, one on the right, one on the left. So there are totally 12, 12 into 2, 24 meridians are there in our body. Okay, that doesn't mean only 24 are there. There are many other things. Apart from this, there are 2 other channels, which is called REN channel and DO channel, which we'll discuss later. So totally, there are 14 channels are there. I think it may be confusing, so I'll repeat again. There are 14 channels are there. Okay, 14 different types of channels. So 12 are related to organs, 2 are not related to organs, right? For each of the channel, there are 2 actual channels are there, one on the left and one on the right? Except for do and ren, right? So the remaining 12 organs has two channels. For example, like lung channel, I told you, right? Now lung channel starts from here and then goes here, right? So, which means like, see, I have lung here. Here also there will be another channel. So now, why is it important to know this? Because you can treat any acupressure point, for your problem. It's not that you have to use only here. You can use here also, different things. So that's the overall view. Now there are some limitations, which we need to understand. I think this complementary, supplementary, we already discussed, so I'm not going to talk about that. The most important thing is, this acupressure is not very effective as compared to other medicinal systems. So we are not going to really worry about it, because we are not going to be a professional treating others. We are going to take care of self management. That is number one. Number two, I'm going to give you some other techniques also, like moxibustion, then cupping. Then you also have scalp acupuncture. Sorry, not auriculotherapy, reflexology. There are many things out there. So I will give you some idea about that also. Uh, so one simple way is that if you practice acupressure thrice a day, at least 1.5 hour, you give enough time for that point, do massaging, then it is actually equivalent to using acupuncture. So it is actually effective. So, but if you just do some massage for 2 minutes and then expect some benefit, then it won't come, because acupressure is not so powerful. So you have to really do it 3 times a day, and you have to practice it. So don't worry. I mean, it doesn't mean that you will not get cured, but it may take some time. Let's see, the advantage is that wherever you are sitting, say for example you are going to office, it's 1 hour travel, so you can just do the treatment while you are going, right? Only thing, somebody might be thinking what the person is doing. So okay, so with that, now let's start understanding about the human organs, right? So if you see the traditional allopathy, so they have they have categorized our organs into 10 groups. Okay, so for example, they have something called integumentary systems, like we have skin, hair, nails, and then they have musculoskeletal system. So musculoskeletal has actually two. One is our muscles, another is skeletal. Then they have lymphatic system. So lymphatic system is something which is not known for everybody. It is actually, you can imagine, like for example, in a state, they want to connect all the places. So what they will do, they will send buses, right? So for example, there may be some buses that may go from one long distance to another distance, right? So they are covering. So those are like our blood vessels. But there are so many small villages. So these small villages cannot be connected through these buses, right? Because they are not for that purpose. So what they will do, they will have small town buses. So there'll be some town buses that will go from one town to a small village. So similarly, in our body, you have so many places where we need blood, right? Now imagine these veins and arteries cannot supply blood to our entire body. So that's why this lymphatic system is that they provide blood to different this thing. So they have many other functions, like bone marrow and other thing. Then you have respiratory systems. We have different these things, like organs, like lungs and other thing. Then you have digestive system. So digestive system is the very biggest system, because it starts from mouth and then it ends in anus. So it has a digestive system. Then you have nervous system, right? Which are different, this thing. Then you have endocrine system. There are different glands are there. Then you have cardiovascular systems. Then you have urinary system, and then you have reproductive system. So these are all the different ways they have classified the this thing. But in TCM, they have not classified like this. So what they have done is they have just created 12 organs. Okay, they have created 12 organs, because these are all the organs that we need to focus, because these are all the organs to which the body is connected through channels, right? So these 12 organs are lung. Okay, I think all of you know the function of lung. Just 1 second. Yeah, so all of you know the function of lung, right? I don't need to explain that. Next is large intestine. See, for every organ there is a symbol given there. Okay, so you have to note on this symbol. I'll present. Actually, I not started posting things in classroom. So tomorrow I'll post all the documents in Google Classroom, so you can pick from there. So going forward, you need to memorize these 12 organ symbols. That is very important. Okay. So without that, you cannot. You don't need to memorize every point, but at least these 12 organs you need to memorize. So lung organ is LU. Large intestine. What does large intestine does? Large intestine does what it does is very simple. That small intestine, has what do you call, the capability to absorb all your nutrition. So capability to absorb all your nutrition. So whenever the nutrition is absorbed, then what happens is the stool will come out. It will come through the large intestine. So what does large intestine does is it takes some water from the stool and then passes on to your body, so that your stool has some required consistency. So that is the important of large intestine. Then you have stomach. Stomach is the place where the acids are getting mixed with the food. And so I will not go too deep into all this digestive system, but just for your understanding, you need to know what are these organs, right? So stomach, then spleen. So spleen is a important organ. So we will discuss about spleen later. And we also will see the different functions of these organs. This I didn't cover in the first class, but I mean the first batch. But in this batch, we'll cover. This is for you. But if you already know medicine, then you may find it a bit confusing, because you might have studied something in your English medicine, whereas here it will be different. So it might be confusing. So spleen is a very, very important organ. So spleen is very important because it takes care of your immunity and other thing. Then you have heart. I think everybody knows what is the importance of heart. Small
Sir,
intestine. Yeah, sorry, madam.
sir, spleen, can you explain, sir? I didn't understand. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, we will go too deep into this in the subsequent classes, madam.
Okay, okay,
And,
sir.
yeah, I will give you some documents. So spleen actually purifies your blood. It takes care of many things. Okay. So we will not talk about the. See, the problem here is, if I talk about something, then I need to cover both. The function of. Uh,
Okay, okay, sure,
for
sure,
example,
sure.
small intestine, large intestine, the way it works, understood by allopathy and TCM, are same. They are
Okay,
not different.
okay, fine.
Spleen, TCM says something, English says something, so I have to give you proper writing. So I will give you later, madam.
Sure, sure.
Heart, we know. Small intestine, I already told you. So urinary bladder. So as per English medicine, this is not a very important organ. It collects urine, whereas urinary bladder is very important, because urinary bladder, uh, you know, it creates many urinary infections. If this bladder doesn't have enough energy, so urinary bladder is the place where the see how urine is created. Right? When your blood, when you drink water. So in early days, I used to think like when we drink water, it just comes out as a urine. That's what I used to think. But later, when I studied medicine, I realized that is not how it happens. So when you drink water, the water is absorbed by the our small intestine, and it is sent into the blood. So your blood takes the water, and then urine, what it does is it actually uses this water, and it does a dialysis, and then takes away all the unwanted things, and then that comes as a urine. So this is why very important. See, as I told you, that there are two important things for our to keep our body very healthy and young. One is blood, another is energy, right? So to keep our body blood very good quality, you should do detoxification. You can learn a lot of detoxification technique, and this thing. The most important simple thing you can do is drink 3 to 4 liters of water every day. Okay, so that solves many problems, and it makes you active, and it also saves your kidney. So that is a role of the urinary bladder. So it collects the urine from kidneys, and then it stores, and then it lets you out. Kidney, we know, right? Kidney, the function of kidney is pretty much same in both the things, but there are some differences. But the generally understood concept is that kidney takes the blood, and then it purifies the blood. Okay, and pericardium. So pericardium, as I told you, it is not organ in the allopathy, but pericardium is an organ here which covers your heart, and it is responsible for maintaining the temperature of your body, sorry, of your heart. Then you also have triple armor sangio, which I explained, right? This is not organ, but this is the three blocks in our body which maintains the different heat. Then you have a gallbladder. So gallbladder, again, I will explain this in the document. Gallbladder is very important for digestion and many other issues, because gallbladder, what it does is it stores the bile. So bile is secreted, and it is stored in the gallbladder. So for example, there are some people who undergo gallbladder surgery. uh, I don't know whether it is correct or wrong, removing gallbladder, because what gallbladder does is gallbladder stores the bile, and it injects whenever you feel hungry, right? I mean, basically, hungry is nothing but that is the thing, right? So, so basically, if the gallbladder is not there, then your digestion cannot happen. So you will have no low quality of digestion. So that is where gallbladder is very important. And you also have a liver. Liver, right? It has a lot of functions. So it stores fat, and it does a lot of things. It also is a very important detoxification thing. So these are all the 12 organs. Okay, so don't too much worry about it. So what I suggest is I'll give you some documents to find out. I'll give you some links. I'm giving you a lot of links because I don't have much time to create a document and give you. One is that it will be a violation of copyright, because if I copy from somewhere I give you, right? So I'm just giving you links for other things so that you can go and study there. So don't ignore those links. That is very important, right? You have to learn a little bit. You don't need to become a doctor, but at least you have to learn a little bit, right? So after this completion of this class, you will understand some organs. What are they doing? It's very important. It's very important to keep ourselves very healthy. So, for example, in this, after end of this class, you will understand what is the importance of sleeping, what is the correct time to sleep. All these things you will understand. Okay, so these are all the different 12 organs. Now, I'll just repeat again. So there are two channels on the left and right connected to each of these organs. Okay, so there are 12 meridians or 12 channels. 12 type of channels or 12 type of meridians. Plus, there are two, which is called Ren and Du, one in the front and another in the back. They are not connected to any organ. So there are totally 14 channels or 14 meridians are there. The actual number of channels are, because each channel has two, one on the left and one on the right. So there are 12 into 2, that is 24, plus 2, 26. So there are 26 meridians are there. That doesn't mean there are only 26 meridians. There are many other meridians which we will not discuss in this class. Okay, because that is outside the scope of this class. So this is what it is. So each organ has one meridian on one side, which means like they are left and right. So totally there are 12 organs with 12 meridians. So totally 24 on both left and right, plus 2. Okay. Now, I don't know whether we have time. Okay, we have another 5 more minutes. So let's quickly understand how to identify acupoints. So I have given you two apps. Okay, so you can install both the app. So if any of you don't have the link, just send me a message on WhatsApp or in the group. I will send you the link. So you have to install those apps, and then you have to study these meridians. Okay, first class you may not understand anything, but after we do maybe second or third class, you will easily understand what those meridians are, how to use that app. You will understand. I will also try to give a demo of that app. So what you can do is you can find out those points, and then I maybe in the second class itself I'll give you the points for different diseases so that you can start practicing, because there is no point on keep on learning something without practicing, right? So you can practice in the second class or something. But it's very important to identify those points, right? Now there is a advantage in learning acupressure compared to acupuncture, because in acupuncture what is important is the exact location of point is very important. Okay, this is one of the biggest problem for people who are learning acupuncture. So if they don't know exact point, they'll be treating it not very effectively. So that's very important. So the person, so there are other techniques to solve this issue. Western countries are using different techniques, but in India, there is no such technique followed. So they have to manually design on the skill to identify the point. Whereas in acupressure, you don't need to exactly identify the point, because no, you are not going to use a needle and then plug in. Right? You are going to use your thumb. You see your thumb or finger, right? They are very big. So when you do it, even if you approximately locate the point, you will actually cover the entire point, right? So that's a very important advantage. So you don't need to exactly locate the point. You just need to roughly know where the point is, right? And there are several techniques for this, which is given in the different thing. I'll give all the techniques through documentation. Now, how to generally identify the points? So the generally to identify the points, first is you have to you can find out these points at the end of the crease. Crease is nothing but when you fold something, you will see a small line. So you can see here when you fold there is a line. So that is called crease. So it will be generally at the end of the crease. Similarly, it will be between the different bones. So you can see there are a lot of bones will be there, right? So just at the edge of the bone, it will be there. Or there are say several joints are there. It will be there in the joints. And there are certain depressions are there. It will be in the depressions. Now, with this, we'll stop here. So if there is a point, you have located that point, but you don't know whether it is a correct point or not. So there is one thing that you can do, which doesn't all the time work, but it's very useful. When it paints in the point, it means you have selected the correct point. If it doesn't paint, that doesn't mean it is not a correct point. Okay, so please understand this. If it paints, it means that's a correct point. If it doesn't paint, it may or may not be the correct point. So then what you have to do, if it pains, you don't need to worry. You can usually select the point and start the acupressure. But if it doesn't pain, then you have to be sure that you have the knowledge to locate the point. So there are several techniques to locate the points, which we'll discuss in the subsequent class. Okay, I think with this we'll stop here. So if you have any questions, we can discuss. Okay, I don't know whether it is too heavy today. So don't worry, from next class, I think it'll be pretty easy. Any other thing? Anything anybody wants to know? Okay, so good. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you,
So,
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll not meet tomorrow, but I will send you the instructions to start the quiz and other materials. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you everyone. Good night, and we'll see you again on next week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.